Okay,
It's
perfect.
it's going really well for that. Like we just have to do it completely different, which is a lot of like the horses are free and they observe and it's a lot less like hands-on,
Okay, for the
which
large
is
group.
disappointing because we were like, hey, if you would cut these groups down to 5 people, they get their hands on the horses. It just looks different, is what we've, because you have to be safe for the horses and for the clients. So it just looks different, which is it's still they say it's their favorite program, but we're like, oh, it could be so much better.
But that's you as a being therapist led. The clients are getting what they need of it, you feel like, and then you feel like you're treating the horses equal to humans.
Yeah.
Good, good. And just to recap, we started recording everybody. We were talking about managing large groups in settings and how it can be kind of difficult. My best practice is always 6 for a group. You can go up to 8 if the emotional age is, I would say 15 plus, 14 plus. So, okay. So that was one of the things. And then I worked with someone on, oh, what was it? Selective mutism clients and how to work with clients that are nonverbal.
Mm.
So I sent them some resources and some Icarus model activities to do. I think it was, oh, we are missing one more person too. Yeah. So I won't go into that or worry about that. Are there any questions, any like wins you guys want to share at all? Or case vignettes?
We just had so Living Life Ranch is where I work and we developed a peace training. So we do a faith-based equine assisted learning, and we just had our third training. We had 4 new participants, and it was just amazing. And we do our training in an arena, like our horses can come and go, into their and it was just so fun. Like we had our horse lay down during the session, and several of the clients were able to go lay down with the horse. I mean, it was just anyway, it was really fun. And it
And
was
that's
cool because you could tell like the horses would engage with us for a little bit and then they'd go back to their space, and it was just amazing.
And that's profound for them not to have a real relationship with the horse, but to have them lay down and, let the clients too. That's
Yes.
huge.
It was huge. And they were horse people, so they all recognized like how big that was for this horse to halfway through the training just laid down right beside us. It was pretty amazing.
Oh, I love it. Thanks for sharing.
Hey, can I ask
Anything?
a question, Jackie? It's a little bit off topic, but I was wondering, I've got a person who's asked me about working with their clients, autism, ASD, ADHD, but also has PDA. Have you done much work with that and safety issues with the horses? Like I've had a few that have come up and done artwork or play therapy, but not the actual. She was asking about doing actual equine work and how you kind of work in a safety mechanism without then putting on the pressure and creating the defiance response and what you do with that.
So half of my autistic clients are PDA, or what the European, content
Yeah.
defines as PDA. And I've been doing that for about a decade. So I think probably 8 or 10 years ago was when a client brought up an article from Europe that was on PDA. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like half of my clients. And I'm not big on labels or anything, but that's when I started learning low demand parenting and low demand sequencing. And then in my approach, it's always very join with the client. It's not very non-directive. I have a background in some non-directive play therapy trainings. I'm not a registered play therapist, but I have a background in the non-directive play therapy. So with them, I haven't had any instances, but I've also never had a kid have a meltdown in a session or anything like that because I always go with them. I am always very slow, very cautious. We always do sessions in the barn with the horses behind the stalls first. We do sessions with the dogs, and then we'll do session with the mini maybe. And then we'll see what we're seeing. So it's all about, and especially with my ADHD kids too, it's all about what are they ready for? What can they handle? What can they take? And then I always have other tricks up my sleeve. I always have ways to deter them or ways to distract them. I never, ever, ever use the word no. So I use the word, oh, hands on come and touch the gate for me. Or, hey, can you put both of your feet on the ground? Can you do a cartwheel real quick? So, of course, they wouldn't cartwheel with the horse right there. But if they're running away or something, hey, can you cartwheel real quick? Can you hop like a bunny? So, there's all kinds of things I do with my kids. And it depends on the developmental age and the emotional age what I would use per se, because with a teenager, I can't use that. But a teenager, I can use, hey, can you put both your hands on the horse? You know, if they're by a horse and the horse really likes touch, I would say, hey, put your hands on the horse. Or if they were doing something and I noticed they were triggering, they were being triggered, I would do some bilateral stimulation to kind of like reset them. But every kiddo is different. So all my sensory seeking and sensory avoidant kids are different. So I basically learn their sensory profile, learn a little bit more about them, and then I know I can, start to regulate them a little bit better if I start seeing their nonverbals kind of go out of whack. I look at pupils a lot. So I look at the way their pupils are, and I can usually tell if they're going to have a meltdown or they're getting activated by the pupils. I can also tell
Yeah.
by their face. Sometimes their face gets flushed. Sometimes their lips move a certain way. You can sometimes see the veins in their neck. So I look at a lot of the biofeedback to see, okay, what are we getting at? What am I seeing? What do I need to change up? But I also make sure I'm in myself. So like, remember back from IFS, try to be grounded, try to be self-led, because there's a lot less risk of a meltdown if you're self to self or self to part, instead of being in your therapist part and having your part go to the client's part. And then you're going to have, that little fight that Jen likes to call a parts party.
Mhm.
So yes, does that help at all?
Yeah, it does. It does. I just wanted to make sure because it's not with this specific label of that. I haven't actually done work with the horses, and I was just going, is this an absolute no-go, or could you kind of slowly make your way into it? So that's really helpful.
So some people are so funny. I don't worry about labels. I'll read your psych eval, your neuropsych, all that stuff just because I like that background, but I'm never going to judge a kid based on their records, their psych eval, anything, because as soon as I get the kid, I'll judge them on the 3 sessions I do with them and learn, oh my gosh, this kid is like so different than people, or this human is so different than, people describe this person or the way the person described themselves if they're an adult in an intake. So it's just really, I'm not a big fan of labels. I love autism and I love ADHD because I see them kind of as a strength or a superpower. But it's so funny because like one person with it is so different. So it's, you really want to just get to know the person. I say I don't believe in ODD at all. I don't believe that should even be in the DSM. I believe it's typically trauma or ADHD in my whole 15 years of practice. So I'm really, really against that label. All the other labels, they're fine, but yeah, ODD is a really, really
Wait,
sensitive topic for me.
what's ODD?
Obsessive, or no, oppositional defiant disorder. So
Oh.
it's like what a lot of people label these kids, and they say they're going to go into antisocial personality disorder when they get older. No, they're not. It's
Mm.
ADHD, it's unresolved trauma, it's all kinds of nervous system stuff. Yeah, so it's just a really bad label in my eyes.
It's a lack of parenting and then the ability to say, here's the label, and this is why my child is acting out, rather than the fact that I have neglected or done this or done that. Yeah, I'm a bit the same. I
It's hard.
careful with it, but
And then if you think about it, do we have horses that might have ODD? Yeah. And then we figure them out and they're perfectly yummy and relaxed and happy, right? I mean, Dr. Susie Fay
oh,
talks about that all the time. And we have to just really be cautious. What are we looking at? What factors do we take into play? Our environment, it's kind of like this is an acronym I heard on one of my podcasts is when the flower doesn't bloom, do we blame the flower? No, we blame the environment.
I
So
blame my flowers. It's definitely not my fault at all, the fact that I can't grow them.
all right. Anybody else? Any little wins or questions before I kind of go over what's like some formal stuff? Okay, it was Laura who had the questions about the nonverbals and stuff. So I will save that to when she pops on. I'm going to share my screen with you guys and then have you guys choose the option because I did a bunch of videos for us. And I want you guys to choose which one you might want me to see. So let me get that little Zoom window and hopefully it doesn't close you guys. Good. Okay, can everybody see? Okay. So I have options for today. most of you guys have the Icarus Model manual. So what we can do is we can do a little Fiji shaping behavior like intro video. I had a blast doing this a few times because the horses kept messing up the camera and chewing on me and doing all kinds of stuff. So I think this is the best take. Or we could do a quick clip of Find the Horse Blindfolded, which was pretty profound that I did in a training.
Let's do that one.
Okay, so this is a training. This is a beautiful team that I was able to work with, and they gave me permission to share the video. They're learning the Icarus model. You'll see the equine specialist, and you'll see the other therapist who's kind of being the client, and they are with my mare Coral Sky. So find the horse blindfolded. If you guys have my model, you've seen the YouTube video. I don't just blindfold people. I don't just throw them in there and close their eyes. I make sure they're comfortable. We do blindfolded find the cones. We do close your eyes artwork. We do all kinds of stuff before I even get to this level. And my horses are used to this. So she's trying to find the horse blindfolded by connecting with the horse with her mind.
She went right to it.
She was very blocked and clouded, she said.
Mm.
And then you'll see what happens. All of a sudden, there's a huge shift. And she got tears in her eyes. Yep. So huge shift as Coral comes in and cups her. And when Melissa was sharing this with me, she's like, you can let them know the context. Like I started feeling so lonely and just alone and started tearing up. And all of a sudden she puts the most protective part of her body on me and it just lifted me up.
Mm.
So
Wow.
there's a method to my madness. That's why I do blindfold activities. It really gets us a little bit more raw than when we use our eyes. And it's so profound with my horses. Okay. Any questions, comments about that little clip?
So you blindfold them and then they don't know where the horse is and then they're just sensing where they feel. What if, and then if the horse comes up to them, it's okay, kind of like that.
Yeah. So what I do is I try do this a million times by myself with friends and stuff to make sure my horses are okay with people like a mummy. Because I have them keep their hands out for safety reasons. You know, I don't want them to hit stuff. I make sure that there's no dangerous obstacles. I have them choose a corner, spin around if they choose, or they can just put the blindfold on. And then sometimes I'll make it easy and I'll just let the horse be. Sometimes I'll distract the horse. It just depends what level of therapy they're in. But as soon as they clear their mind and they connect, my horses always walk up to them, always. I mean, there's another video online of it that's a little bit longer that's beautiful too. That's on the YouTube. So that's a public. These are private. I'm not posting these.
So what do you tell the client? Like to clear that, like that's their goal, to clear their mind and to connect
I
with the horse.
I asked them about connection. So in this session, you know, they've already had sessions on connection where they sit on the mounting block or sit in a little chair and they have to connect with the horse. And then I ask them what connection is for them. So I do this a lot when I do clinics or I do groups with other therapists or, you know, big groups with other professionals. And I ask them what connection is for them because they don't really know if it's touching the horse, if it's being around the horse, if it is making direct eye contact with the horse, which not a lot of horses do if you really know horses. And then this is kind of an advanced one because it's like connect with the horse without your eyes, without your hands, because you're really connecting with your brain waves and your heart rhythm and also your intuition. Because, you know, if you're super nervous, I don't know if my horses are really going to go to you unless they really want to help you and protect you. So a lot of really cool stuff with the blindfolded work. I love, love, love that activity. I do it in groups too. So I do it in groups with a few different horses. And then I would do probably max of 4 people. And sometimes my clients like it when I videotape them and they can see the whole process unfold. So like Melissa seeing that, she was like, whoa, Jackie, that was so powerful. Because when they watch it back, they can actually see their thoughts in motion. And then they process with you even deeper. And then you delete the video as soon as they leave and then delete your deleted.
That's cool.
So yeah, and I have that all in my informed consent. If I ever use videos, ever use photos of the client, they're deleted, they're deleted. You have the right to airdrop them if you'd like. But that is a teaching style, a teaching method to take the photos and take the videos and put them in their file too, as part of my progress notes.
Mm.
What video program do you use? Because didn't you say you had a camera that follows the horse?
Yep, Pivo. So Pivo is just an app you have on your phone, and then you plug it into the
Hmm.
camera, and that's how I make all my videos. So all these videos are on the Pivo.
Okay, that's
It's
cool.
like I think it's $100 on Amazon. It used to be like 200. I bought it in 2020 to do virtual riding lessons, and then I realized it's how I do all my videos. I love it.
Okay, cool.
Super fun. Okay. So Fiji behavior shaping. Let's get this one to play. There is my star Fiji playing with his
As you guys
ball.
see, Fiji is having a lot of releases. He really, really seems to enjoy having things around him. He's playing with the cone, he's using his mouth, he's licking the ball, he's pushing the ball. He's been yawning and licking and chewing. I was working with him on shaping a new behavior. You can see little Zale over here as well. Now Fiji's going to get a drink. So he's basically soothing himself. And if you notice, my horses have this whole entire area to be in, but they choose to be right by the camera. Zale is actually licking the camera right now. And they typically choose to be around me, which I'm honored. And that's what's really nice with clients sometimes too, because you can work with them on connection with the horses. So if I walk to the other side of the arena, will my horses follow me? If I sit down in the corner, will the horses follow me? So just little things, little experiments, and then process with the client, because you never want to make the horses follow them. You always want to see what the horses choose to do and how the client's feeling, and if they're congruent or they're incongruent. I'm just kind of talking about that in an age appropriate level. As we see now, Fiji's going back to one of his favorite balls. Pick up the cone once more. And Zale is going to continue licking the camera.
So real quick, what shape a new behavior is I let the client go and I say, hey, in my room of activities, my stall of activities, what would you like to use to shape a new behavior with the horse? And a lot of my times my clients know the horses, so they choose which horse that they would like to engage. Doesn't mean the horse will engage in that. So I always give the horses an option, whoever wants to come, whoever wants to stay back, and then what activity or what, items they want. Typically my clients choose a couple. I don't only get one that just chooses one. So then we put them out and they'd have to shape a new behavior, whatever that is. There's no, rules. They finish when they're finished, when they're comfortable.
Now, what I would do with the client is I would ask the client, hey, I wonder what Fiji's doing to the cone, and kind of see what they think. Oh, he's tasting it. It must taste really, really good. Look at that. So what he's doing is he's getting sensory input, and then he's doing some really big releases. So this is relieving his stress. He's enjoying this process. Horses don't always enjoy toys. He is quite young. He just turned 6 yesterday. So he's going to be a little bit more playful. I've also found that geldings are a lot more playful than mares. My mares don't ever play. My geldings always play with each other. So it always depends on the horse. But typically mares are all business because they have to protect the herd. Oh, what a big release, BG. And then geldings get to play like stallion games. So that's why these two are kind of like jokesters. And they love to play with each other. And sometimes Zale is the boss and other times Fiji's the boss. So the herd leader is my mare, Coral Sky. But when these guys are together, they kind of rotate. And as you saw in the earlier video, you saw Zale kind of wanting to kick Fiji. And when I do this with clients, they love the horses playing and engaging. Sometimes the yawns scare them a little bit. So I kind of teach them what the yawns are and help them feel comfortable around the horses. And I don't always teach the clients what the yawns mean. I really like them at first to kind of decide what they think. Oh, that's so nice, Fiji. Look at that eye roll. And then the V in his eyes are going.
So the reason why I'm continuing to say thank you and give him an energy cookie, what Susan Fay calls an energy cookie, like the thank you and give him good energy, is because when I got him, he was just so stoic and very, kind of traumatized. So for him to release so publicly and wonderfully is such a big, deal for him. So that's why I'm getting so excited and I absolutely love the releases. And they're not excessive. We're not looking for excessive releases because that's stress. This is more like, oh, it feels so good to, experience what I'm experiencing right now.
Way, yeah. So he's releasing a lot of stress right now. Whatever he's held up from being in the pasture all day.
And if you see the veins in his face. So horses are using your brain and they're thinking a lot when you see the brains in their face. And then you can also see where the circulation is a little bit in his legs. You can see down. I can point like down here where the veins are too. That means he's getting a lot of intense circulation in that area. So it's basically kind of like parts work with horses. So if I were working with a horse, a human on parts work, I would say, I wonder what parts in Fiji are active right now. And they could say, oh, I'm noticing a lot of blood flow and everything in his, left leg or left shoulder. So that's a really fun thing to do. It's kind of playing around with your parts work because there's really no right or no wrong way to do it.
Being exercised a little earlier. Yeah, you can let that go. So I just wanted to do a little bit of this horse behavior demo with you guys to show you. And I'm going to see if I can show you the V in his eye real quick, if I can get that eye down. So V's in the eyes are a little bit worried when horses are a bit worried. He's
Right there. So that's called the hooding. It's called hooding, but Dr. Susie Fay taught it to me as the V in the eyes. That's a worried look, and it's so minimal. You really wouldn't notice it much. Fiji's worked so hard to get out of that. He had that like constantly. So that's really important for you guys to look the hooded eye or the V in the eye.
worried right now. And it's hard to get a good, there you go. So right there, you can see how his eye kind
Yeah,
of V.
V.
That is a worried look. So you always look for that in horses. And we're
Do you mean the spot right here?
on that.
It V's up there. It's kind of a hood.
Okay.
So right now it's normal. And then let's see if I can.
Because Luna was doing that this morning, and my instructor was like, "Oh, I think she's pissed off," and I was like, "I think she's actually worried."
So that's okay, but he V's it. Ah, see how it's more angled there? It's like a V. That's the worried look. And see how there's more of a hood?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to catch. It's if you Google, I think it's hooded eye or the eye hood. Susie calls it the V. Yeah, that's concern, that's worry, that could be fear, all kinds of heavy emotions for the horses. And my other horses like rarely ever have it. And then also the circulation in the face too could be stress. So you want to make sure you don't see consistent circulation and pokey veins in the face all the time because that's also stress too. They're using their brain too much. So just kind of being aware of the nonverbals in the horse, and that'll help you with humans. The more in tune you are with the nonverbals of the horses, the more in tune you'll be with humans, like noticing, oh wow, I really notice their smile lines right now. I really notice they're getting tight right here. You'll even start to feel it in your body. I don't always have to do it. I run virtual yoga and I can still feel what people are feeling. And then I check in and I'm like, oh, wow, that's amazing that sometimes I'm right. So it gets to be like this, sixth sense.
So even though he was releasing and looked really calm, something must have shifted in his energy to cause that worried.
Only at times, if you noticed it. He
Yeah.
wasn't able to chew on the camera, so he would get a V. And then he would come back
Oh,
and try to chew on it, and then he would get a V because he couldn't chew
okay.
on it. So, and if you look, he's a very mouthy horse. He likes to lick. He likes to, those are residual stress signs that he's still showing from going back into him being like a foal or a yearling, having those baby, very mouthy
Mm-hmm.
behaviors. He wasn't a stallion for very long, so it's not stud behavior. But yeah, that's what we interpret it as.
Hmm.
So yeah, so just kind of doing anything with the horses is so much fun to involve the clients. And you really can go into a session with a plan, but you have to be really careful because the horses can take it in another direction and you have to be okay with that. And then my team that I was teaching, they did a beautiful bridges activity and they made this big teepee for the horse to go through at the end, which signified graduating their program. Nobody would touch it. And then they realized that they both had different goals. The ES and the MH had two different goals and they were leading the group. And I was like, okay, well, what if you guys come together? They come together and then one of them walked through the teepee and the horse followed. Sail, my little mini, followed right away. So as soon as they outed themselves, horse did it. So it was just beautiful. It's always beautiful, this process. What questions do you guys have? None. Everybody's easy peasy. I don't want to teach the whole time though. So just let me know. Please let me know if I'm going too fast, if I'm saying too much, if I'm not, giving you guys a chance. Because I know none of you guys had questions for me to follow up in this session. So I came prepared. Ooh, so do you want to hear the bridges or the face your fears demo? Which one?
Both.
Okay, we should probably have time. We have half hour. So face your fears. It's hilarious because this is me teaching the Icarus model, face your fears, and you'll love. I don't think I cut it out. I hope I didn't. If I don't, I'll pause it. So the equine specialist was on, and the mental health person was the client again. And she explains the activity so funny. And I needed it to like play out for a little bit because it's like it's hilarious and it's something I would never do. I would never have the goal to be this. And you guys will see in the beginning, but it's just like it's very interesting. Yeah, I did. Okay, so you guys all hear it and I'll pause it. And I don't know how to get that little thing. Oh, there we go. Okay.
As an example of face your fears, mock clients. Face your fears. Face your fears.
Can I share with you what we're doing?
The client has a clapper.
Pauses. You want to try it? Oh, okay. Today we're going to take our fears.
I can't actually hear her, Jackie.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, so what she's doing is she's introducing it, but she's introducing it pretty jumbled. So what she said is, we're going to scare the horse. And then the client's like, we're going to scare the horse. And she's like, yeah, our goal is to scare the horse. And it's like, oh my gosh. So then I had to come in and kind of correct her onto like how to introduce it and stuff. The sound gets a little bit better, but I'll also stop and kind of narrate. So right now she's just explaining what horses are afraid of, and then we're going to scare them.
Oh, we want to scare them.
So, with face your fears, what you do is you typically say, hey, you know how we all have fears. So horses' fears are a little different than humans' fears.
So I said, hey, we all have fears. Horses' fears are a little different than human fears.
Because they're all like survival based. So what I want you to do is I want you to help Dale feel so brave.
So we want to help the horse feel so brave, he can be confident.
We don't want to scare Dale. We want to make him feel really brave.
We don't want to scare him. We want to make him feel comfortable.
In a way
where we don't flood his nervous system.
I don't like these. Do you like these? Things are startling. I want to startle us.
I get a quick challenge, gosh, that's it.
Yeah, now we have fun. So we have to figure out, what do we want to do? Help him comfort his fears. How can we empower?
How can we make him comfort his fears? Like, what can we do? And some clients in that moment might say, yeah, I do like to be feared. I do like fear. And you would actually go with that. You would say, hey, tell me a situation where you like to be scared. And that's really, really powerful, because then I would try to recreate it in some way, not with the horse, but just to figure out what part of that person's body needs that. And if there's any other parts in there that's scary for them. So I would have taken it in a whole different direction if the client said that. You never correct the client. That's the biggest thing in therapy, is you always go with them and get really curious.
Instead of scaring him, we want to empower him to get over his fears.
Going to protect him and throw this thing out.
She said, I just want to protect him and throw this thing out. I would say, that's your choice. So in a session, I would literally go and say, that's totally your choice. And then sometimes they would go and they would like give him this big bear hug. And then we would process on, what do you think? And he starts to walk away and you're like, do you think he's enjoying this? What's your take on this?
Okay, you can do that. You can protect him and throw that out.
Then he's not facing his fears.
Right, that's you rescuing him, right?
Yeah.
So if he grows up and he's on his own, who's going to do that for him? Yeah. Yeah, so how could you teach him to be brave? How could you? He is so cute. So
As we faced it more and more.
She said, I think I want to get loud, so he has to face it more and more. So I'm like, okay. And I would always protect my horse. If this in any way was really disturbing for him, I would never allow this to happen. There's a reason I have the clappers. There's a reason she's engaged with the mini. He will sometimes go and play with those on his own. And as you can see, he's grazing. I do live in the city too, so they are used to loud noises. Now you can see a little bit of tenseness, a little bit of the awkward chewing, but he's still not so distraught that he's going to go away. And never have I ever had a client who did it constantly. This is like she was really trying to be hard.
So what are you noticing right there?
So I'm saying he kept putting his, I'm noticing the behavior. I said, what did you notice right there? And she said, what do you mean? I said, I noticed he put his head up and down, up and down. And he met your hand with his lips.
And I was looking at him scared. And I was gonna pause, but she
I was looking for when he was scared and then I was going to pause. I wanted to allow him to adjust.
Space. It is a loud noise. But if I read, and this is me thinking, if I read my environment, action up is what it's.
She was like, well, he must be reading his environment that nothing's actually attacking him.
And he said, but you didn't give him a word, right?
And then I pointed out, oh, I noticed you didn't give him the release, or did you? And see how she's like, well, you told me to make you face his fears. So she's kind of putting it back on me. And in that respect, it's very confusing. And you just have to figure out your client, what they need you to say in that moment is going to be the most priceless thing. Because sometimes, yeah, we do misdirect them and we have to apologize, or we have to say, perception is so, so different among other people.
I'm so shaking. You would have to face it.
Yeah, you continually want to face his fears. Then you kind of want to give him a reward for facing it and give it to him great.
Yeah.
It's
But well, yes, but then I found his tolerable threshold.
But then I found his tolerable threshold is what she said.
Yeah.
So I said, why don't you put the clappers down and see if you can re-invite him over? So right now we're working on connection because we kind of broke the connection, right? With the face your fears, and he left and broke that connection. Now let's see if we can rejoin after making a mistake, maybe. So she said, I feel like I have to be at his level. And the second she did, something changed in him, he kind of got a little bit more relaxed. He is going to do something that's really relaxed now. And horses poop to relax, and they poop when they're stressed. You can kind of tell based on your horse what they're doing. I made a joke, you scared the poop out of them, because it's funny, and then kind of broke it up with the client.
That used to be. Sure, everything's healthy in your body.
So now they're talking about privacy and like everybody staring at me pooping and
Okay. Yeah, so the intense stare is too much. And I wonder how's your breathing right now? Is it smooth? Is it choppy?
Asked me, I checked that, and if I was holding any.
so right before because I got a sensation and she's like, whoa, right before you asked me that I checked in. So she was like kind of mirroring what I was feeling. So checking on her breath.
My jaw, that's so I released the jaw into the deep breath as you were like asking, yeah.
Okay, and I felt something in the breath. That's why I had asked that. I love that you noted that. Thank you.
She noticed her jaw was tight, so she released it. And the only time I'll allow them to do that is with the minis, because you saw like she went from her like safety stance to like, I'm going to get on my knees. And the equine specialist is actually a test for them to see if she would react. And she didn't because she felt comfortable with the mini horse and knowing her herd.
In this moment, I'm okay with sitting on the ground because of the mini. So here comes another character that you're in.
So see how she auto-corrected when the big horse comes. So that's me seeing she's becoming more, she's making safer choices.
Fighting with your energy. Came over from eating. But when we acknowledged him, he stopped for a moment. That was interesting. You feel like you came too much? See, when you said that too, he stopped and looked at you.
She's asking like clarifying questions that she would ask. This is where I label the horse's behavior in situations. So to go back to our previous group, a lot of people ask me, what questions would you ask? And I would just label the person's behavior, label the horse's behavior, and see what comes of that.
And to me, like I was sitting here coming from a very genuine space, like it takes time
She's okay with it taking time because she just came at him with this whacker, she called it.
So building back the trust.
Yummy grass, and then he's having a nice cool drink on a nice window.
I also noticed too, like so. I almost would be, I think, a little more upset if they came right over to me. Because to me, then it was like they didn't leave their own environment to save us, safe person. They just themselves.
Could you guys hear that? So what she said is she said, I'd almost be offended. I'd almost be unhappy if they came right over to me afterwards, because that would show poor boundaries, but that would also show, you know, they're not reading their environment either. So she's somebody who's kind of stepping out of the client role now, I think, into the mental health perspective role and not acting out her client as much. She's really like stepping into the, hey, this is what I would be looking for. This is what I would notice as a shift.
So I almost, yeah, like that it's.
She said he's already connecting with me, but he's checking in little bits.
self-serving versus like a movement thing. So you like to work for what you, yeah, not necessarily work for, but I like it.
I asked her if I said, I noticed, so you like to work for what you, I can't remember how I ended it. You like to work for what you want. And she said, not necessarily, but I want it to be mutual, not forced.
Yeah, that's, you want this. Yeah.
I don't want to automatically get things. I want it to be mutual.
Now, Fiji's kind of hanging from the corner. He's looking, chewing after his water.
Okay. And that was pretty significant and profound for Fiji because he never hangs out by them right there by himself in such like a relaxed way. He typically wants a treat or he typically is pawing to get something. So that was very interesting. And then at the end, this was their last day, he actually stood up so proud and let them do a photo moment around him, just showing that, boy, I'm so proud of what I did today because this is the first demo I let him stay in for the whole weekend. And he proved to be such, so amazing. And he had really good, happy boundaries. And it was just a big milestone for him. And after that, he's forced himself in every session. And this was, I don't know, a month ago. Yeah, he's really, really proven that he loves to do this job. Okay, that one was kind of hard because it was kind of hard to hear, but I wanted to show it to you guys because it was so powerful and really showed a bunch of different things. What you guys think? Questions, comments, anything you would wanted to take it into?
I think that one seems a little bit more tricky just because you'd really have to know your client and your horse. Because I'm just thinking, I know some people who would enjoy that maybe a little bit too much, so I guess you really have to know that.
That was so hard for me. So my hearing is very, very acute. It's very, very powerful. So I literally was cringing filming it, and I've never had a client ever shake it more than like maybe a couple times with the horse. So I was like, whoa, yeah.
Yeah.
She took your instructions very seriously.
Oh yeah. And I almost wanted to be like, stop. Oh my gosh. So it's really hard in sessions sometimes because you really don't know if you're going to if you're going to be set off or not. Not a whole lot sets me off. Noises kind of do, but it's more like fire trucks, stuff like that. So knowing yourself is going to help you so much because your horses will also start to come to rescue you if you're agitated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your mini took it pretty darn well.
Oh my, he is so funny. And he'll literally grab those and shake them himself. And I would never do that if my horses were freaked out ever.
Right.
I use umbrellas sometimes. I use anything that's like not a super scary item for them. And I would never let the client hurt them in any way, of course. So yes, so you guys got a lot of demos. Is everybody brain doing okay? Is anybody worrying like how to apply this to their own kiddos or clients or adults?
I'm excited to do some of the blindfold and even some of the activities that I do. I'm like, ooh, throw a blindfold on and see, once it's set up to be safe. I think that's fascinating.
Yes, and the rule of thumb for the blindfold is let's try drawing art. I have them draw on the left side of the paper with their eyes and the right side without their eyes. So I say, hey, I wonder, can you use your eyes to draw on the left side of the paper? And then can you either close your eyes if you feel comfortable, or maybe look in the corner of the room and do the drawing too? And then I see what they choose. Because see how I'm giving them trauma sensitive language. I'm not making anything one better than the other. If they choose to close their eyes, next time I would offer them a blindfold. So it's always, and then I have like 3 or 4 blindfolds I'd offer them. So they get like the textural, they could have like pretty colors if they want. I let them use sanitation spray if they want before they put it on themselves. Keep in mind, I work with anxious clients and OCD, so I do like to have a lot of options for them.
So do you have them draw the same thing on both sides of the paper, one with their eyes and one without their eyes?
Sometimes. It just depends. Sometimes I say, do you want to try to copy the same thing? And then I also do it with the different hands too. Can you make the same drawing with your left hand? So I play with it to kind of get that brain going.
I was going to say, are you using that to try to give them the experience of what it's like with different senses or what it might be like to do it? What do you have a variety of kind of goals that you're trying to achieve with those experiences?
I do. It's a grounding activity, it's an anxiety reducing activity, and it's also a centering your brain activity. So I'm trying to use get them to use both hemispheres of their brain too, especially with the left
Yeah.
hand, right hand. Try new things. I'm also assessing their frustration tolerance, and I'm assessing them for perfectionism, all kinds of
Yeah.
anxiety stuff.
Hmm.
Nice. I like that.
There's always a method to my madness. I've done so many assessments being a special needs teacher and then developing the program for autism in North Carolina. So the kids were mainstreamed and not like, put in a self-contained classroom. And so for me, it's all about assessing. And then whenever I see the client for the first 6 to 8 sessions, I really don't do a whole lot. It's assessing. I want to assess you. I want to see what you need because clients will come with goals, but I'm not like, hey, what are your goals? No, it's like, okay, you can tell me what you want me to work on, but there's underlying things I'm going to have to clear up before we get to those goals. And I think we touched on that last time. That's so important for my modality because I want to join with you. I want to assess you. I'm never judging you. I'm seeing how you function in your world. And then I'll ask you, do you want to function this way or do you want help? Especially with adults. 15 plus, I usually say, hey, I notice you're functioning in this realm with no judgment. Do you want to function this way? Does this feel okay in your system or your body, whatever is not triggering for them? Just like eating disorders. So, or body dysmorphia. It's like, are you happy? And do you feel comfortable? Because I get people who come in and they say, hey, oh gosh, I ate so much last night. I just don't know what got into me. And I say, do you want to work on that? Is that something that you're comfortable with as a technique, or is that something that you want to work on? Because have to be so careful with clients who use coping skills that aren't so healthy. Because if you take them away, they could choose something a lot more dangerous. So you usually say, are you ready? And would you like to, work on that today or work on that at this time? And that's kind of raw too. So sometimes I can get clients and they can do their first equine session and say, whoa, that was way too much. So I always check in with them after the first 1 to 3 equine sessions, especially if profound stuff. I'll text them or I'll email them or secure message them 3 days later, whatever your informed consent says you can do. And I'll say, hey, just want to check in on you. And after they leave the first session, I always say, I just want to check in with you. How was that for you? Was there anything that came up that you'd like to process? Please, this is how you can reach me in between sessions if you need to tell me anything or if you have anything that you need. We can always do a emergency session if needed. And then I say equine sessions, typically you'll get the benefits for about 5 days afterwards. So you'll have new shifts, you might have new thoughts. It's an experiential modality, so it kind of happens over time as well. Those are my one-liners.
I like it. I love hearing other people's way of phrasing those things and how
Mhm.
they kind of put it out there. Like all of those examples are awesome,
Good.
and really helpful to hear another person's approach with all of those things. That's really cool.
Yay. And I just, I didn't really learn from a lot of people. I just kind of figured out what I feel like people want me to say. And then the more shifts I got where the feedback that I got when the clients finished the program, when I did the survey, was they really enjoyed that invitational language. So for myself, when I did it for the first, I think 8 years, I had a doctor follow us and he did a study and he did all kinds of exit interviews. So I compiled those and tried to figure out, how I could make the program better, what I could do better, what I could not do better. And I added that into the Icarus model as far as like some of the invitational language, some of the process questions that we use. So he was so helpful. And I was like just starting out when he wanted to do this thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so new. You want to use me? So it was really cool. All right. What do you guys want to use me for the last few minutes? What do you feel like? Because we can say bridges till the next time. I don't want to like run through it too fast.
Yep.
Carissa, you've been so quiet. Anything that you can think of? Any questions? Okay. She might have stepped out. Janie, Lisa, you guys have been great. Oh, there she is. Nothing that you can think of? Okay, I want to make sure I give everybody the spotlight. Um, does anybody have questions on forms? Equine forms, when, what, equine insurance? Was anybody hit by the really recent Allen Financial Equestrian Group that like totally dissolved overnight? Okay, I did. It was really scary, but someone else took my equine liability insurance proposal. Thank goodness.
Wow.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, company dissolved overnight. And I was like, okay, I'm not protected. I don't have
Oh,
equine liability
wow.
insurance. And they're like, no. And I was like, whoa, this is illegal. But luckily another, company got involved and took our policy. Thank goodness, because that was really scary. But
Can
it's
I just say, Jackie, I could just sit here for hours and just listen to you. So it's not that I maybe don't have questions. It's literally like
okay.
you just have such good information and it's like, okay, keep talking, keep talking.
Good. Okay, because I want to know, I want to make sure I'm giving you guys new information. That's the biggest thing about this consult group. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I hate using that quote, but it came out. Um, I also want to teach you guys like there's so many different perspectives. I love following Sarah Schulte. I love following Linda Kohanov. There's some beautiful books out there. There's Kara Grecu, who does a lot of attachment work out of California with horses. And she has some beautiful mentors out there too. So the nice thing is I love joining with people to see what beautiful work you guys do, because I think we can learn from everybody. But this work is all good because you guys take what other people teach you and you make it your own. You put
Mhm.
your own spin on it. Just like I'll show you the behavior signs and symptoms in horses, but your horse is going to be different than my horse. So like Coral Sky, my mare, I've never seen a V on her and she's a very anxious horse. So every horse is very different. And then as you see right now on my desktop, you can see Icarus. He was so abused and he was just such a terrified horse. He broke several of my ribs spooking, I mean, by accident, like throughout his life. He was literally reliving the first 2 years of his life, first 4 years of his life before I got him, his whole 25, 23 years in existence. So it's so hard with horses because their nervous systems are so different than us. Oh, I wanted to clarify, horses do have a corpus callosum, it's just very small.
Mm.
So last session I agreed with Janie and I was like, oh, I guess they don't have a corpus callosum, but I was like, I think they do. So I went and I researched it. And yes, they do have a very small one. So they can
Huh.
communicate. It's just very different. And the neuroscience of the horse's brain, I think it's like horse brain, human brain. I love that book.
Mhm.
Um, that's a beautiful one to kind of read because then you'll understand a little bit more about like their frontal lobe and everything. And just like in humans, when we take out a piece of our brain, we can actually well, not regenerate, but we can actually function without that piece because other parts form bigger and they're able to function and take over what that, section missing lacks.
Have you read the book Horse Speak, or do you know those ladies that do Horse Speak? What do you think
Yeah.
of that?
So, let me turn off the recording. So I feel like they are. I love that book and I use the go away cheek button and I use the back
Mhm.
button and I use a
Yeah,
lot of things,
we do too. Yeah.
the play button. Um, yes. Hold on one second. Because I don't want to run over for anybody. So I will stop the recording.